Good morning and welcome back to BIFA TV, your daily dose of industry information. Today we're joined by Ian Matheson, but we've got a different type of episode today, haven't we, Ian? So what have we got for today's?
We have indeed, Brooke. As you know, we've come to the end of the first half of the year, so I thought it might be a good idea to actually summarise some of the things that have been going on in the UK's freight and logistics industry and what might be to come.
Yeah, of course. Sounds like a great shout. So what have we got to start off with?
Well, in Oceanfreight, Brooke, the first half of 2025 saw strong cargo volumes, sharp volatility in freight rates, and constant geopolitical disruptions. And that led to carriers to retooling their fleets and alliances while grappling with margin pressure. The outlook for the second half of the year is continued volatility in spot rates, shaped by tariff decisions and inventory trends.
Yeah, and hopefully if some of that tension that we've seen, if that eases, and of course if trade routes go back to normal, hopefully we'll see some of those rates decline, won't we?
Well, soften at least, yeah. And obviously persistent supply gluts and geopolitical risk might support marginal rate stability. Carriers, I'm sure, will fine-tune capacity via blank sailings and sailing smaller vessels, perhaps, to maintain rate discipline.
Yeah, I know that tariffs and the kind of impact that they've had on trade, that was pretty much the biggest talking point at BIFA's national conference. I know it was at the top of the agenda for everybody. Now, of course, moving away from ocean, what have we had in air cargo?
Well, the year kicked off with strong volumes and elevated rates, and the first 6 months certainly seem to have been driven by seasonal patterns, fleet dynamics, and especially sudden policy shifts on tariffs and the de minimis threshold in the USA and in other markets. And the outlook for the second half of the year suggests that policy risks remain pretty uncertain, and there's sort of really any further US tariff shifts could disrupt the trade lanes and air freight demand.
Yeah, as we've seen, it's been a market that's been pretty sensitive to kind of geopolitical and also the trade developments as well.
Yeah, the competitive tension between spot and contracted pricing strategy seems to persist. And I guess from a BIFA perspective, the big news in the first half of the year was the launch of the new advisory group to focus on the cargo redevelopment programme at Heathrow Airport. Yeah,
of course, I know it's been a big project for the policy team. So what have we got on the roads?
On the road, Brooke, we've got in the first half of the 2025 cross-channel road haulage navigated a mix of seasonal rate swings, capacity surges and heightened customs friction, as well as rising cost pressures. Going forwards, the competitive environment is increasingly complex. Demand remains flat, but peak season upticks and regulatory dynamics will shape the remainder of the year.
Yeah. And of course, customs and compliance will remain key as well. And I know that there'll need to be some investment to kind of reduce that delays that they've had.
That's right, Brooke. And meanwhile, of course, in the UK, BIFA welcomed the news that approval had been granted for the Lower Thames crossing.
Yes, yeah. So now moving away from the modes, how about warehousing? What have we had?
Warehousing, well, first 6 months of 2025 saw robust occupier demand, rental growth and limited supply underpinned by structural shifts in e-commerce and logistics strategies. The next 6 months seems to be that investor interest is solid, despite cost headwinds driven by resilience and modernisation of the UK warehouse stock.
Yeah, of course. And from what I've read, that kind of rental growth, it's looking to continue to be positive for the rest of the year, isn't it?
Yeah, and the speculative supply remains limited, which is kind of constraining tenant choice and boosting landlord leverage. Investment sentiment might improve, I guess, if financing costs ease, but I guess buyers will remain selective and yield sensitive. And of course, e-commerce resilience and sustainability gains are likely to continue to support demand.
Yeah, and I know just talking about the kind of the sustainability side, I know that was something that we covered in BIFA's step-by-step guide to sustainability. So we'll pop a link to that in the description.
That's right, Brooke. I think it was issued in April, and I know it's aimed at helping members implement more sustainable practices in the logistics activities that they undertake. And I know you'll put a link in the description below.
Yeah, I know that BIFA's policy group, it was something that they worked quite hard on, so hopefully our members found that useful. And finally, Ian, what about cross-border trade?
Well, Brooke, in the first 6 months of 2025, there was strong export growth, accelerated digital customs reforms, and heightened scrutiny on low-value imports, alongside tentative progress on the EU-UK border facilitation and cross-border data cooperation. I guess the outlook for the second half is for continued investigation into digital customs systems to streamline flows and reduce friction.
Yeah. And of course, further EU UK deals, I know that will ease kind of the trade costs and the paperwork.
Well, you certainly hope so. And I guess evolving global tariffs and trade policies are likely to continue influencing trade volumes, customs complexity, and risk management behaviour.
And I know that following the initial announcement, I know that BIFA issued a statement saying that our members will be breathing a sigh of relief.
Yeah, I guess they will, yeah, sort of following the sort of practical commitments to improve regulatory cooperation, you know.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you so much, Ian, for providing this outlook. I know it's a bit different to what we normally do, but I know that our members will find it just as useful.
Well, I hope so, Brooke, and it's no problem, of course. And of course, don't forget that Crystal Palace won the FA Cup in May. I don't think I've mentioned that in previous episodes of What the Papers Say.
No, you haven't. You've been pretty good. But before you go on about it any longer, I think we'll call it an end there. But thank you so much, Ian. And like I said, everything that we've discussed, we'll put some links in the description as well. That's all for today's edition of BIFA TV, your daily dose of industry information.